Greetings everyone, and welcome back to part 4 of a closer look at ancient cities, where you can find some of my thoughts based on the time we have had with the game in part 1, 2 and 3. I am the Beard, and it's a pleasure to have you with me. So before we begin, if you've missed the gameplay, you can click in the links in the top right hand corner of your screen now and follow up. Alternatively, you can head to the description and catch up there. So, ancient cities. Man, this is a tough one. As it stands, this game has a long way to go before it comes anywhere close to being a full release, and to be honest, this is probably one of the most bare bones early access games I've ever played. In a way, it was really disappointing because there is the base of something really good here. First of all, the game does look really good, and although the foundations are very similar to a title like Dawn of Man, there is the potential for something far deeper and more complex to be built here. I can see what looks like the fairly simple task of resource gathering, crafting and tribe management could become very complex and an interesting challenge to tackle as more content is added, and content here is the key. There is evidence for future content that I'm sure is coming. For example, there are strong hints at hunting and cooking mechanics, and there are some buildings present already in the game, like the religious and defense buildings. Then there's also a small stone wall like this that looks like this. It's kind of cool actually, the small stone wall. I kind of like that. We built this over here to protect the kids, stop the kids from running. Releases, particularly considering its cost, which is high by anyone's standards. In addition to this, the performance of the game was not the best. There's clearly a lot of optimization work that needs to happen here, and the user interface was incredibly clunky and hard to get to grips with. I found it lacked any sort of logical flow, and things like simple tooltips to hint what certain buttons do are just missing most of the time. I also want to highlight that there's little to no tutorial, unless you have to watch someone like me stumble through things. You're left figuring things out majorly for yourself. They've tried to update this through patches, but I still think what they've added is fairly loose. I know this is not a huge thing, and I have no doubt that they will expand on the tutorial in the future, but I thought it was worth calling out. So, negativity over. As I said, there are some things I did like that are worth talking about. Here are possibly my top 3. 1. I love how you can choose to start playing from anywhere between 10,000 BC to about 3,500 BC, and how this choice affects the landscape you'll have to build your civilization on. This is a lovely little touch, and I really appreciate and hope they extend this in the future to include the types of technology and buildings you have access to, and at what stages they'll become available. Talking about the map, I also love the fact that your tribe is able to navigate and migrate around the map, and when you choose to settle, the spot is procedurally generated. This gives me hope for the future replayability of the game, as it won't be confined to a few pre-made maps, a problem that I think a game like Dawn of Man actually does suffer from. The implementation of a good day and night cycle was the second thing I liked, and it was probably one of the biggest things that brought the smile to my face while playing this game. I can see this being as something that adds real immersion to the experience, and I think in the future, if the devs manage to link it to things like seasons, where days become darker for longer in winter and vice versa in summer, this will really take that to the next level. Lastly, I think the third thing that I really liked, and this might not be to the taste of everyone, is the 3D graphics and the landscapes. I thought they were quite pleasing to look at. The models for the few buildings that there are in the game, I think there were 19 when I did a count, are well done, and they're coupled with some nice animations that bring it all to life quite nicely. I would particularly like watching the villagers dancing around the fire pits at night, for example. So, I would really have called this an early tech demo or base game mechanics showcase rather than an early access release. It's not necessarily the lack of content that drove this feeling, but the fact that it was so lacking in so many clearly planned elements of functionality that just, when they're not there, make it feel a bit empty after spending a little over an hour with the game. So if you're thinking of laying your hands on this, make sure you're willing to buy into a long process of supporting the game, feeding back to the developers, which from what I can see they are fairly responsive, and generally being content with watching this title grow, and the potential to grow it does indeed have. However, I would not recommend getting hold of this if that does not sound like something that would make you happy. As I mentioned, this is barely an early access title, and you're going to be more than a little irritated if you think it's more than that. You have been warned. I do hope the developers do get the support they need to continue working on this game. They have consistently expressed a deep and keen interest in prehistoric societies that go beyond simulating og catching a fish, and I think they have proved that they have something to work here, and I look forward to seeing how this one develops. So what do you think? Are you going to get stuck in at this stage or wait till later? I'm keen to know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you do want to support the developers, you can grab a copy of Ancient Cities off Steam. There's a link in the bio. That's all from me, the Beard. Until next week's Closer Look series, keep safe, wash those hands, wear a mask. I am the Beard, signing out.